It was going to be a very sad day. Lozok stood on the observation deck. A myriad of representatives had come to observe the event, to mourn with the humans over the inevitable fate. The Earth was going to be swallowed. It happened fairly regularly, on an astronomical timescale, but still sad. Lozok had even witnessed another planet swallowing, the death of Yukio, the home of the Ikuti. It was somewhat underwhelming. The event, of course, was more of a process. Then, just as today, the ambassadors and their entourage had gathered to see the planet's orbit begin to fail. The actual collision would take place about a week later, and only be observable through a telescope. Lozok was much younger at the death of Yukio. She was an assistant to an assistant back then. Now she was the chief ambassador for the Pakovis, and as they were a central species in the Empire, she served as the main representative of the Emperor himself. She had even spent years on the human homeworld that was about to be engulfed. When the opportunity came for the humans to join the Galactic Empire as a vassal state, Lozok had been the obvious choice for an ambassador. As the highest-ranking diplomat on board, she would be expected to give a condolences speech to the humans gathered. The president of the Human Council would give the actual eulogy. Afterwards, they would leave this station, as they plummeted with the planet towards the sun, and she would return to Mars, where most humans had been evacuated nearly 100 years ago. There was still plenty of diplomatic work to be done, given the situation. Her speech had been well planned. She would talk about how sad it was to lose a homeworld, that it deserved tremendous sorrow, but ultimately the species would survive. Her writers had carefully danced around the sore subject of the solar test, not apologizing per se. That would of course imply blame towards their Pakovis and the Empire, but still acknowledging it. The speech would end with a rousing call for new hope and new opportunity, of course mentioning how the Empire would use some of the tribute payments to reinvest in the human solar system's infrastructure. Privately, and later on, she would truthfully tell her human counterpart that she had opposed the tests in a civilized star system. All of this went through Lozok's abdomen, where her brain was secured in her dense ribcage, as she rehearsed her speech silently to herself. She was absently staring out the giant window, looking for the last time at the Earth in person. One side of the planet had been scorched as it had become tidally locked. The other side was covered in glistening white snow. It appeared almost beautiful this far away. She saw the Earth's one moon as a small grey spot in the distance. As she gazed, a human approached her. "Admiral Lozok," she nodded. "Hello, Ambassador Maria," Lozok said. "I hate that we are meeting again in such dreadful circumstances." "Circumstances? Pfft." The human made a strange, non-word noise. "I prefer a different word. Consequences." Lozok shook her two eye stalks, the Sokarian equivalent to a headshake. "The courts are playing out the suit right now. You know as a diplomat I am unable to comment on the nature of the case. If there is blame towards the Empire, they will make repayments to the human colonies." "I am familiar with the process," Maria said. "But our people are already displaced. Mars is not suitable for us. It will take years, decades to terraform. There's already crop shortages, the water system." "Please," Lozok said. "There will be time for all of that. Let's just honor the Earth while we can. The orbit will fail in a couple of hours." Maria shook her head. "This wasn't supposed to happen for another 8 billion years. Now we have less than 3 years to figure out how to feed 8 billion humans on a world with air we can't even breathe." Lozok began to say something, but Maria turned and stormed off. Unprofessional. That's what Lozok thought. Mistakes happen. Humans would have to learn that if they wanted to survive in the galaxy. The food and water problems would be difficult, but the Empire was already gathering a team of the best agriculturalists to design a plan. The humans would have to wait for the bureaucracy. Theirs wasn't the only apocalypse in the Milky Way. It was sad, though. She gazed at the Earth for a while longer. In the corner of her eye, she saw the moon again. It looked larger. That makes sense, she thought. Though she could have sworn the moon's orbit should have it moving away from the station. Lozok stood in front of the large window for a moment longer. Then she turned and walked back to the gathering. Every human of political note was in attendance. Several of the species local to the galactic region had sent representatives as well. She moved around the room with grace and efficiency, making small talk and dull platitudes. Many of the humans had demands, endless demands. Many of the other species wanted to talk about how they would be involved economically in the construction of the solar infrastructure project over the coming decades. Infinite demands and enthusiastic but limited supplies. It would be the Empire's and therefore Lozok's job to manage the two. Of course, the tribute served as a small fee for the facilitation. "Fuck you!" Lozok heard the expletive from across the room. It came from some scrawny human, from the looks a sub-adult. An Ispurian businessman stood covered in a blue foamy drink. His yellow fuzzy body was sticky and dripping. "That is what you get for ruining our star!" Security guards rushed over and arrested the teenager. A report would later reveal that they had snuck in disguised as a waiter and had planned the attack on the Ispurian. Apparently he had been one of the chief engineers in the solar testing project, as many Ispurians had been. The young human would serve some time in prison but would remain unharmed. What was more shocking, though, was that the other humans seemed to beam with happiness over the incident. One even cheered. Ambassador Maria outright laughed. The humans were losing support from their closest sapient species, Lozok thought. The ones that would be needed if the humans ever hoped to build an infrastructure needed to be an interstellar civilization. Ispurians weren't just good at designing solar tests. They were the best engineers within 300 light-years. A small outburst could be expected, but the other species would be looking towards the humans for a condemnation. Something told Lozok that would not be coming anytime soon. The humans were throwing away their future over their pride. The rest of the party was uneventful. Just before the Earth's orbit was set to fail, Lozok rose to give her speech. One of the security guards had suggested she forgo it, if the humans had been negligent enough to let that teenager in, who is to say they wouldn't have let an assassin slip through as well. She waved them off. The humans were arrogant, but not violent. Lozok's speech went off without incident, though there was much head-shaking, and even a faint boo from some unknown human. Lozok stepped down and let Ambassador Maria take the podium. It was only good courtesy to let a human speak as Earth began its descent. "Thank you all for gathering here today," Maria began. "As a colleague of mine told me earlier, I wish it was under better circumstances." Lozok's eye stalk shook. "There has been much talk tonight about the future of humanity. I've been told that the Empire wants to start a new initiative here, the Solar Infrastructure Project. They want to build space elevators and make radio outposts and mining facilities. I am told that our sapient neighbours, the Umphius, the Juihi, the Grantiums, want to help us. Well, they want the contracts at least. Even the Ispurians want in on that deal." Maria paused for a moment, then turned to the Ispurian delegation. "Haven't you all done enough already?" She turned back to the rest of the room. "We humans have many old stories about the aliens coming. We thought maybe you would come in peace, or that you would come with a fight. Never did we think you would come with bureaucracy and failed science. When we were first told, not asked, about the solar testing, we thought it would save the Earth. We have been racking our brains for decades on how to produce clean, safe energy. Well, now you all have burnt us with the force of 1,000,000 Chernobyls. You have all named this a death of a world party. I think that's a translation issue. This isn't death, it's a murder. But we are resilient. You have brought us neither peace nor war. You haven't outright enslaved us, but clearly you think you can kill our world and get away with it. We aren't going into the night that easily." Maria turned again, this time away from those gathered. She looked out the large window. In front of her was the Earth, scorched on one side and frozen on the other. It was the ugliest thing imaginable. She raised a small device to her mouth and said, "Now!" The moon, which had been getting suddenly larger all night, was now turning towards the Earth. It began to fall into the planet. The gathered audience of sapiens gasped and clicked in excitement. The humans began to cheer and holler. No one spoke as the moon fell rapidly. Within minutes it crashed into the Earth, hitting what was once Northern Africa and Europe. The surface of both bodies moved like waves of water that had once crashed on the beaches. Deep cracks appeared and widened at an alarming rate. Huge monuments of rock and streams of ash poured away from the edges of the impact. One of the rocks came within mere kilometers of the station. Every diplomatic protocol that Lozok had built into herself broke. She stood up and yelled so the room could hear her. "What the hell did you all do that for? You haven't saved the Earth. You haven't done anything. Now it will just be a rogue planet with a huge crater. Surely this impact has destroyed all your ruins and artifacts. We could have relocated the fucking Egyptian pyramids to Pluto if you would have asked us to." "Respectfully, I disagree, Ambassador," Maria said, still staring at the ongoing destruction. "All the pyramids and ziggurats and graves are Earth. Not on, they are Earth. The moon was. It's now again Earth. They are of the same composition. Do you know how the moon was formed? In the early solar system, two protoplanets collided. From the debris came the Earth and the moon. We are Earth, made from it. If we would sacrifice our Earth just to preserve a part of it, how much more do you think we are willing to and capable of sacrificing other planets? Say, how many moons does Zokar have? Lozok didn't flinch. All you have done today is prove that humans are capable of participating in warfare. I seriously doubt that you could have devoted all the necessary rockets for this little stunt while starving on Mars. You should have never assumed otherwise, Maria retorted. That the Empire underestimated us is what we humans call a you problem. We're about to show you just how critical of a problem we can make it. We have gathered our fellow sapiens here today not to honor the murder of the Earth, but to show off our might. You want to create our future for us? Today we have shown you just how destructive we can be. Do you think we were not taking notes during the solar tests? We know how to recreate that in your star systems too. A moon, as I am sure you all now can see, was massive relative to Earth. Uniquely large as far as moons go, it took nearly 4 times 10 to the power of 25 joules of energy to move it. I will let you convert the units and check the math later. Suffice it to say, it is enough to recreate the solar tests in each of your star systems several times over. We do not wish to declare war on every species in the Empire. Though we are willing to fight that war, it will be troublesome. Today we humans are declaring our independence for the Empire, nearly 100 years after joining it. We will no longer be a vassal state. The Empire will get no more tribute from us. We are asking our fellow sapiens to join us in this rebellion. Even the Esperan can join us in this cause. The Empire plays us against each other, all the while demanding tribute from humans and Esperan alike. But be warned, fellow species. If you are not with us, then you are against us. The Empire, I am sure, will have the same feelings. There are no neutrals in the coming war. Lozok got up from her table and ran to the Esperan party. After some quick assurances, it was confirmed that the Esperans would be loyal to the Empire. Maria and the other human diplomats descended on the other species. Some were quick to declare their rebellions as well. Others were more hesitant, saying that they would have to talk to their leaders about the proposal. Human bodyguards came and rushed Lozok and the Esperan entourage out of the station. They were given diplomatic immunity to return to whichever star they felt would remain loyal. It's said that they had to travel all the way back to Ispur, over 200 light years away, before they were confident they would be safe from the growing rebellion.